Look at that.
Oh shit, I thought it was like a just drop off.
And Arthur's seat is up there. Bro, it's a hovering bird.
It's just staying at one spot.
It's glitching out. The Matrix is glitching. Just kidding, birds just do that for fun, I guess.
That's crazy, isn't it? Man's trying to challenge himself, trying to get his workout in for the day.
That's so cool how they can do that.
Yo.
There he goes. He's like, I did it, man. Challenge completed. Made it to the top of Arthur's seat. Came from way down there. Hiked up that trail all the way to there and up here. Nice view of Edinburgh. Woo!
It's very important we know some of Edinburgh's history if we're really going to understand the vaults, their story and why they came to be, but also the conditions of this city. Not great, can I say. So, anyone want to guess why we stopped in this random alleyway in Edinburgh? Or close?
Murders?
Murders, that's always the first guess. Someone's died here or someone was murdered. It is Edinburgh. Probably everywhere in Edinburgh has had someone murdered at some point. I'm not saying this is a dangerous place to live these days, but through times, yeah, a lot of murder. No, I brought us here because we've got one off the main Royal Mall and two of these lovely tall buildings around us. You see, Edinburgh has for many, many years had an issue with overpopulation. Too many people in such a small space. This was made worse by something we call the Flodden Wall, a wall designed to keep the English out. Now you can probably tell from my accent, it's not done very well. I am from Yorkshire, but Yorkshire's redeeming, it's practically Scotland, right? Yeah, somewhat. They've chose the wrong alleyway today. So, in order to fit everyone in and to keep them alive and trading without the threat of the English coming for them, and the English didn't intend to, they kept everyone within this Flodden Wall. They started building upwards to fit all the people in, and we ended up with the first skyscrapers of our kind. So, yes, America, we did beat. Woo, woo, woo. Problem is, we made these skyscrapers out of wood. Yeah, that's not great.
Yes.
If you know anything about basic... Wonderful, at the entrance. A few more health and safety bits before we do begin. Number one, it's dark and it's enclosed. If you're someone that gets claustrophobic, there's a small number of us, so it shouldn't get bad, but there are a couple of smaller vaults. If it's a problem, let me know. I'll move you to the more open side of those vaults and see if that helps. Because it's dark though and it's an old building and the floors are uneven, if you've got a light on your phone, please do use it just to see where you're going. So you, one, don't face plant, and two, you paid to go in there, you might as well make the most of it. Finally, if you need to get out at any point, you can't just walk off. The gate's going to be locked on either end. If you wander off and I don't notice, well, you're stuck in here until the next tour guide tonight.
What happens if you die?
If I die,
Yes.
let's just pray that doesn't happen, eh? Year and a half, going strong, we'll be fine, right? Fingers crossed. But no, seriously, if you need to get out, just let me know. That can be because you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling faint, feeling too hot, sick. Please, if you feel sick, let me know. Otherwise, I go in there and clean it on my own. Trust me, I do not want to be in there on my own. And finally, as well, even if you go in the room and you don't like the energy of it, as weird as that might sound, it happens. I'll just get you out. I'll bring you outside, we'll finish in the room you didn't like, and then when we've moved to the next one, I'll come and see if you want to rejoin us. If you don't, you decide the vaults aren't for you, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to force anyone to stay, but you can't just wander off.
This is it, bro.
You see that very dark room?
This is the real Edinburgh experience.
I'm just going to send you there, and if you survive, we'll follow you.
Sick.
It's like the witch stars, if you die, we'll just apologise. Luckily, there's a light on at the end, so you feel a bit more safe. We are going to turn that light off, but...
You're just sending him into the darkness all that while.
Yeah, knew I could trust you with a bright yellow jumper.
Let's do it.
And I'll open up our section now. We're the only ones with access to this particular section. There are people that work in the venue next door, so you might hear them in the corridor. By the looks of it, because the door's open, there is someone working there. But other than that, past these gates, the only people getting in are us, and there's no other tours scheduled. I'll lock the gate. If you decide it's not for you, the best time to tell me is before I put this lock on, because it's really fiddly.
Yo.
Is that last tour guide, is it, down there?
Yeah. Barbara didn't make the cut. The Gulls didn't like her. Rightio, welcome to the South Bridge Vaults, our section of the Bridge Vaults. As I said, it's pretty long. It goes down 19 archways. We won't be exploring the whole thing because we don't have that time. As I said, tour companies each have their own areas. Also, pubs, clubs and different venues will have different sections of the vaults as well now. And there are still some areas that are completely locked up. No one can get in them yet without knocking through walls. It's not safe to go knocking through the interior walls. The whole thing could collapse, that would be really bad. So we're waiting for people with flats in front of them to knock through their bedroom walls. Some people just aren't quite there yet mentally, which is fair enough. Now, the bridge started its construction at the end of the 1700s, mainly because of this Pyramid situation, among a couple of other little political things in the area. So, the rich said, build us a bridge, and because they had money, the council said, sure. Thing is, the people of Edinburgh, and when I say the people, I'm referring to the working class as they were the majority, well, they didn't want this bridge to exist. They started spreading rumours about it. Now, the main reason will, of course, been mostly because it was knocking down housing that was most likely theirs for something that wasn't actually supposed to be for them. But the one reason that caught on the best was people saying that the bridge was cursed. Weird, eh? That's had at least 3 of those to be executed by hanging, just outside of the lovely cathedral we met in front of. Choice. Because it was believed that if it happened under the eyes of God and he did nothing about it, well, clearly that was God's will. That's the argument they went with at the time. But people don't like to just give themselves over to be executed. Funny that, so they ran. People needed somewhere to go, and well, they just realised that this place was a giant, again, barren space in the centre of Edinburgh. Police didn't even come down here because it was dark, it was dangerous, and no one should have been in the grounds. So hundreds moved in. Unfortunately, it didn't just end up with those who needed the space. We ended up with brothels, speakeasies, fun dosage of criminal activity here and there. Say here and there, the whole thing. And those who also knew that this place was a haven to live out any fantasy that the police wouldn't allow you to do upstairs. Because anyone living down here was thought to be a criminal and... Just into here. If you want to pop yourself over this end for me. You're quite tall, so I won't put you back against that wall. Just pop yourselves around the walls again for me, folks. Maximises the space and makes it feel a little less.
We in here, boy.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, easy numbers for counting. This is a domestic vault. Anyone want to guess to the average number of people in a vault this size? 20, pretty bang on. Between 16 to 20 was your average in a vault this size. Bigger vaults you could have up to 40 in. This one though, I mean trying to live with 16 strangers, not the best. People weren't living with beds. Beds were big, they were expensive, they took up way too much space, and the water damage would have destroyed them as well. Chances are when you come in here, you come here alone. If we forget the whole first year of people moving in because of the new laws, then we're looking at those who have just ended up homeless through circumstance. The ones that are less likely to be coming in a full family or group, more likely to be on their own or with one other person, or perhaps just their children. Now, homelessness comes into many different situations. So some people will have lost their jobs over time, others lost their homes. Some people will move to Edinburgh for a better life and it just did not work out. There will also be those who are on the run from the police for other reasons. The Tolbooth prison was on the Royal Mile and that place was much worse than this. This place sounds bad, we'll add the extra torture up there and the certain death at the end. People were down here because it was hope of survival, not because they thought they were going to survive. On top of that, you will also have many women who have lost their husbands or breadwinners in the family who have ended up down here. You will also have a lot of young ladies who got pregnant out of wedlock, cast out their families, who needed somewhere to go to. That's a lot of different people in such a small space. So when you've come through, the chances are that a candle made out of animal fat doesn't burn bright, doesn't burn long, and it should give you enough light to find yourself a spot that no one's sat in. That will be where you move. You don't lie down on the floor, you sit yourself down, you take as little space as you can because you don't want to be in anyone's way. There's nothing exciting about that wall, I'm just using it as an example. When you've sat down though, you've got to... There are many other dead people, that's just the one person that was important enough to get a headstone. The city is built upon death, and if you were poor, who knows where you would end up. Chances are it's not even going to be logged. If you ask me about something that I've never heard of before, I will happily go, no idea. That being said, when I say next door is where all the problems start, it tends to be the case. Is that everyone? Wonderful. If you want to gather around for me, folks, I prefer everyone to stay over this side. Just together, over this side for me, just about this side of the wall. Come closer, let's have that nice little semicircle thing again. Wonderful. We're on time anyway. Just be careful on that floor there, it's quite wet and drippy now. You want to just come into this space for me? We'll close the door behind us. We'll be going out that way. I want you to find yourself a space in this room, over that end, on your own, be brave, stand apart. This vault here is what we call the entity vault, which I know sounds cheesy as anything. We call it the entity though because we have no idea what it is or why it's here. So we can't exactly give you a full history on what it was before, if it was a person to begin with. What we do know from this room is no one's seen a physical embodiment of it. No head, shoulders, knees or toes. The best we've had are claws and arms, which we still speculate. What we do know is people often come in here and they leave with scratches and bruises that they did not walk in with. Weird burn-looking marks are my personal favourite. If you start to feel like you're getting a bit hot and scratchy, try not to scratch yourself, check yourself when you get outside. It's what I like to call a free souvenir. Now the first of these stories, there was a little boy at the door. The group had come in the room, that light had turned itself back off, but tour guide is always got a light, so they continued the tour and no worries. As far as we're aware, nothing else major happened until the group were leaving and the light turned itself back on again. It was then that the guide had noticed that this little boy now had a large scratch on his arm. It was bleeding, it was fresh, and it was quite sore looking. Nothing that could have been done from picking a scab, moving his arm on the wall by accident, or just simply itching a scratch. This had to have been done with sharp nails or some kind of instrument. So naturally, the tour guide had to ask the boy what had happened. And he swears to this day, this boy very calmly told him that a hand had come down from the ceiling and scratched him. But he didn't say anything because he thought it was part of the tour. Isn't that cute? He also said this hand had claws, and then he went on his merry way, leaving quite a freaked out tour guide. Because this guide had joined as a history tour guide, not a ghost guide, and legally we can't really go around scratching children. Wouldn't pass. hence insurance is a little bit different these days. But time goes by, Guy notices a lot of people are leaving these scratches, bruises, weird marks. You get used to it, you build up a weird morbid curiosity after a while. Until he had a little girl in his store called Claire. Now Claire's become very famous across the vaults due to the story. She, being the youngest in the group, on her night stood closest to the guide at the front with them all holding hands. Well, the guide has started talking, the light had turned itself off, and again, the guide always notified everyone it's fine, he's got 2 torches. Kind of the safety rules. And he kept talking. Claire was a little bit nervous, as you can expect, but nothing else seemed to have gone wrong. Until his torch went out. But we've always got 2, shouldn't be an issue, right? It's just, this was the one day he realised he'd not brought that spare torch. So he was getting a bit nervous. You see, tour guides who work in places like this, we all have one major fear in common, and it is not what goes bump in the night. We deal with that. Can't work here otherwise. It's being left in the dark with a whole group of people, knowing the exit is a death trap, and you have no light. Now this wasn't that long ago, but we're talking flip phone era, guys. Not smartphones with torches on. Seriously, it wasn't that long ago. So the only people with torches in groups would be tour guides, campers, and weirdos. There's only a tour guide. So he's now very audibly panicking. You can tell because the changing in his breathing is getting a bit louder and getting a little bit heavier and also a little bit faster. And this kind of doesn't give you the sign that it's supposed to happen. Now, because he's panicking, that's causing other people in the room to start to panic too. And you can hear every little noise in this room. You can hear my footsteps, if I move my arms, if someone's breathing changes. You can hear it all. So you can certainly hear a freaking out tour guide and the rest of the group starting to fidget around because they've just realised, well, what's going on now wasn't supposed to happen indeed. Claire is getting terrified. She's squeezing onto her mum's hand so tightly that it is starting to hurt, and her mum needs it to let go. So she thinks to do the only thing she can think to do as a fantastic parent. She kicks her daughter to get her to let go. Now, don't worry, scream didn't come from kicking Claire, per se. Scream came when Mom kicked at Claire and Claire wasn't there, so she fell on her backside and screamed. Seconds later, well, the little girl's cries heard from the back right corner of the vault. Now, Claire was the only little girl on that tour, so there are 3 possibilities here. Possibility 1, Claire is a superhuman. Duh. She has night vision, she's super fast. To get from the front of the group, around everyone in the pitch black darkness without anyone bumping into them, which you can clearly tell if you're someone I've just bumped into, is not easy. Well, that takes more than a couple of seconds from that hand holding that scream to the cry. I doubt it, but maybe she's a superhuman. Possibility 2. Claire knew the kid was coming, it was her mum, she stepped to the side. Whatever was crying in the back right corner wasn't her, but she'd avoided the kid. Possibility 3. It was Claire in the back right corner. Meaning that if it was her, she needed to have set off a little bit earlier. Earlier than the hand holding to the point of it being painful, earlier than the scream. Meaning whatever was holding Mum's hand wasn't Claire. But as if by magic, well, the light worked again. And it was indeed Claire in the back right corner. So we're looking at possibility 1 or 3 now. Still doubting the superhero, but you never know. When asking Claire what had happened, Claire had told him that she didn't remember walking anywhere. She just realised it wasn't her mum she was holding onto anymore because it had the claws. And when checking both Mum and Claire's hand, there were now nail marks embedded into both. Maybe that was from holding each other's hands so tightly beforehand. Maybe not. But what is the thing in this room? Well, we call it the entity because we're not sure. As I said, some believe it is a poltergeist. Some believe it's a different version of a ghost. It depends what your belief in ghosts is. Some do believe it's more demonic due to the lack of sight and the injuries. And others do believe that it's simply a place with so much negative energy, it's imprints of what was once there. Follow me outside this way though. We'll get everyone to the safe room and then we'll get out. I say it's the safe room, it's an old morgue building, but it's not the vaults, so it's something.
Little doors? They are.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, it's finally time. Right before we leave Scotland, we're about to try some haggis. Nice Scottish breakfast. Actually, that's a cool view out there. All right, finally leaving Edinburgh, off to Wales. It has been an extremely cool city. Might get to see the castle on the way out here in a moment. There it is.
Say it, sorted.
Hell yes. This is actually the only side of the castle I haven't seen yet. Built in a perfect spot.